All rise. We will obey. The International Criminal Court is now in session. Audience de la Cour Penal International, 8 word. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Thank you very much. Court officer, please announce the case.
Thank you, Mr. President. Situation in the Republic of Kenya. In the case of the prosecutor versus William Samoei Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang, ICC 01090111. And we're in open session, Your Honors.
Thank you very much. Appearances?
Good morning, Your Honours. For the prosecution, myself, Lara Renton, Lucio Garcia, Regina Weiss, Peter Scotsman, and Yasmina Suljanovic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appearances?
Good morning, Your Honours. For the prosecution, myself, Lara.
Myself, Katwa Kigan, Hona Lanham, Logan Ham,
and good morning, Ruto, Ms. Jamaraj, Ms. Agenda, Ms. Laurie, Ms. Sullivan, and Mr. Khan and myself.
Thank you very much. New with the witnesses, cross-examination witness, welcome back to the stand. Mr. Kigging ask you questions. It is his turn to ask you questions. I will remind you again of the need for you to listen carefully to the questions asked. Just and answer just that question. Very much, very hard to answer just the question that has been asked you directly. Try to avoid trying first to let us see how you develop your answer to the question before you get to the answer. Answer it directly. Do not give us why you are answering it the way you're answering it before answering it. Answer the question first, and then if the lawyer wants to ask you why, then that's a second question that the lawyer can ask you, and then you answer that question of why at the time specifically asked of you. Do not argue with the lawyer. Also, do not ask the lawyer questions yourself. The only time that it is specifically asked of you. Do not argue. Tell him, I do not mean by this. Can you please repeat so I can understand? Do not ask him question back that amounts to you arguing with him about what you're saying. Do you understand? Thank you. Mr. Catwell.
Well, I'm sorry to intercede at this moment. There's the question of various doctrines. Yes.
Put in.
It's a bit irritating, disconnected as it is, but Ms. Jamaraj, I'm sure, will sort it out rather better than I might.
That's why we said before we like these documents put in at a point. I know from time to time it may not be possible, but let's try and avoid the habit of proceeding and then loading the thing in at the end. Before we proceed, two housekeeping matters. The submissions on excusal we will take in the afternoon.
Can I just...
Unless...
Today it would be inappropriate from our standpoint, for the simple reason that until the prosecution can confirm that it's witness 28 who's going to come first, then the argument is less focused. Yes.
I'm coming to that. So we will be taking the submissions in the afternoon on that. Now, you've also received last Friday, I take it, communication as to the post-Easter scheduling, provisional, as it were, from the 29th of April to the 23rd of May. It is provisional to be confirmed. It's no secret to it. I had requested the presidency to be relieved of my duties in the Panda case, and that is why it is provisional the 23rd of May. It is provisional to be confirmed. It's no secret to it. I had requested. So you do your documents now?
Do the documents now, and yes, please. Thank you.
The first item that we would request be is Ken D09 0031 0056, and that is at Your Honour's tab 10, and it's
document will be marked for identification.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ken D09 0056, MFI T D09 00180. Confidential.
Thank you, Your Honours. The next item would be Ken D09 0031 0057 at Your Honour's tab 11, and that's a newspaper article from the Standard to the term tsunami that was used. We request that this be given an EVD number.
Your Honour, in my submission it should only be given an MFI. The relevant portions of the information were read into the record, and as opposed to the other information, given that there's no authenticity as to the truth of the contents, I think that the record is explicit enough if it's MFI.
Mr. Hooper?
Yes, Your Honour, we agree that the item would be MFI.
Contents, I think that the record is explicit enough if it's MFI.
Thank you. The next item is also a news. Ken D09 058 at Your Honour's tab 12, and we request that this too be MFI.
Document marked for identification.
This document will bear the following: FI T9 00182.
Your Honours, the next item.
Mr. Keegan Katwa?
Morning, witness.
We are in open session.
Yes, Your Honour. I would like to start in open session. Witness, you said that you used to listen to CAS FM station. My first question is, how frequently did you listen to CAS FM station?
Na vyote
I meant how frequently, witness. Were you listening to it every single day, the whole day, or how would you describe the frequency and the intervals of your listening to Kass FM?
Elewi swali lako.
Witness, were you listening to Kass once in a week, twice in a week, or how many times in a week?
Nilikuwa napenda kusikiza kila siku wakati niko nyumbani.
Are we to take it then, witness, that you used to listen to it every single day?
Wakati niko nyumbani. Na hata wakati niko kwa soko, labda kama niko kwa soko karibu na mtu anaye redio.
Now, witness, you haven't quite answered my question, but it's okay, I'll move on. Other than Mr. Sang, could you name any other broadcasters that you used to listen to from Kass FM?
Nafikiria walikuweko, lakini sikuwa na shughuli nao kwa sababu nilikuwa na haja na kusikiliza sana.
So can we take it that you cannot recall the name of any of the other broadcasters other than Sang?
Sikuwa na shughuli nao, wengine nilikuwa na shughuli na kusikiliza sana.
Now, about Mr. Sang, do you recall what was the name of his program or programs?
Naweza kukumbuka zingine.
What are the names of the programs?
Kipindi kimoja kilikuwa kinauliza Lene Emet, na alikuwa na pia na kipindi kingine ambacho kilikuwa, sikumbuki vizuri jina la hiyo kipindi, lakini kilikuweko, sikumbuki, lakini nilikuwa na haja sana na kusikia Lene Emet hivyo.
Now, witness, you said you used to listen to Kass FM, but you can't remember any of the other broadcasters. Would I ask you, other than Lene Emet program, which you used to hear, according to you from Mr. Sang, could you tell us any other names of any other programs you used to listen to from Kass FM?
Nimekwambia sikumbuki.
Now, witness, did you also say that Kass FM broadcasted in Kalenjin only? Hivyo
ndo nilisikia Bwana Sang akitangaza wa Kikalenjin. Mimi sijui kama kuna wakati aliongea Kiswahili, I don't know.
Witness, you made the prosecution on the 28th of February, and at paragraph 23, it is recorded that you said that you had KASFM use Kalenjin only. Well, what is exactly stated in the clarification note is that at paragraph 19, the only language P442 had on KASFM was Kalenjin. Now, the question I want to ask you, witness, is it your proposition that Kalenjin used to use only, KASFM used to use only Kalenjin, and not any other language?
Sijui kama ilikuwa inatumia lugha nyingine. Labda sana tuambie.
And LearnAMA program, which you say was the only one you are familiar with, what times was it broadcasted?
Kuanzia saa 3 za asubuhi, kuanzia saa 2:30 mpaka saa 3:30 hapo.
We're in open session, Your Honors.
Thank you. Mr. Cantwell, please proceed.
Now, witness, this LearnAMA program would be broadcasted once in a day, isn't it?
Haikuwa mara moja.
How many times, witness? And what times?
Asubuhi na jioni.
And what times in the evening, witness?
Nafikiria nimekwambia.
Witness, I will insist that you tell us what times you said the program was repeated in the afternoon, in the evening.
Nimekwambia kuanzia saa 8:30, saa 9 hapo.
And witness, could you confirm that to the best of your knowledge, it was only those 2 times that LearnAMA would be broadcasted?
Hata kuna wakati iliendelea mpaka ikafika mara 3. Haikuwa na siku. Ilifika wakati ikaendelea zaidi ya hapo pale nimekwambia.
Now, how many days of the week was the program, witness?
Kulingana na mimi ni kila siku. Saturday peke yake ndio sikuwahi sikia kwa sababu katika katikati ya mwaka, Saturday peke yake. Saturday za kuanzia Disemba hapo ndio sikuweza kusikiliza kwa sababu nilikuwa busy Saturdays, lakini weekdays mara nyingi ilikuwa inanipata nyumbani. Kwa hivyo mimi siwezi kukuambia alitangaza mara ngapi kwa wiki, lakini mara nyingi nilimsikia.
And witness, was it exclusively Sang who used to run the program, or are there instances when there was somebody other than Sang in the program?
Labda niambie kama kulikuwa na Sang wawili kwa KSFM, kwa sababu nilikuwa nasikia rap sana. Only that.
Did you ever hear Sang co-host a program with anybody else?
Hata sio mmoja.
Now, witness, without I'll put the question again to you, witness. Are you saying Sang would run the program with other people, or it was only Sang?
Nakwambia nilisikia Sang.
Witness, in a closed session, you told us that you used to listen to KAS FM, more especially in December, because you were advised by somebody. I do not want you to say who it was who told and recommended to you to listen to KAS FM, but do you remember having told us that?
Ndio.
Now, witness, a moment ago when I asked you a question, you said you used to listen to KAS FM the whole year. Could you confirm that in fact you used to listen to KAS FM the whole of December, the whole of January, and the whole of February 2008?
The King and Katwa, you will have to take that question again and put a year to the month.
Yes, Mr. President. Witness, could you confirm that apart from your having listened to the KAS FM the whole year, as you just testified earlier on, you actually listened to it in December 2007, January 2008, and February 2008?
Sijaelewa swali lako vizuri.
Did you listen to KAS FM in the period of December 2007, witness?
Ndiyo.
January 2008.
Ndiyo.
February 2008.
Ndiyo.
March 2008.
Ndiyo.
Now, witness, you said when you're testifying that you never heard Sang plead for peace when you listened to him, including the earlier which you have said, and including January to March 2008. Does that remain your position that you did not hear Sang at any time ask for peace?
Hakusema.
Now, you also said that you used to listen to CAS FM station and to programs other than those ones of Sang. Can you recall if you had CAS FM as a station plead for peace?
Nimesikia leo.
And lastly, on that issue, witness, if either Sang or CAS FM had asked for peace, you would have heard it considering how frequently you used to listen to the station, isn't it?
Counsel, you need to avoid the argumentative question. They seems argumentative, don't you think? It does. So you need to rephrase it.
Yes, Mr. President. Witness, if either Sang or CAS FM had pleaded for peace, you would have heard it, isn't it?
Sikuyasikia.
Now, witness, I want to ask you a few questions about the 2005 referendum that you referred to. And on 4th of on 3rd of January, you said that the campaigns for the referendum went on to December 2005. Did you say that, witness? Do you recall saying that? Sorry. Your Honor, and for the prosecution, I'm looking at transcript 98, page 62, line 1.
Sorry, I just believe my learned friend meant to say the 3rd of March then, not the 3rd of January, or the 4th of March.
I'm sorry, it's actually 4th of March. I'm sorry about that. I'll put the question again to the witness. Witness, on the 4th of March you said this: I think that the campaigns continued to November. The campaign ended in November. Or rather, I am sorry, The campaign continued up to December, and then the referendum took place. Do you recall saying that, witness?
Ndio.
So, witness, when were the votes cast for the proposed constitution? Which date?
Sikumbuki tarehe yenyewe.
And which? And do you remember the month?
Mwezi wa 11 hapo Disemba, sikumbuki vizuri hata mwezi.
And witness, at page 57 of the same transcript, it said this. Yes, in 2005, Kenya had to vote a new constitution. We had two constitutions on the table. There was Boma Constitution and another constitution, the title of which I no longer remember. So we had to choose between two constitutions. And is witness, do you remember saying that?
Ndio.
And it is therefore your testimony that when people went to cast their votes, either in November or December, you say you don't remember when, they were choosing between one constitution as opposed to another constitution. There were two constitutions.
Rudia swali.
Counsel, before you repeat, does that follow from the testimony?
It does, Mr. President, because at line 11 of page 57, this is the testimony. Yes, in 2005, Kenya had to vote a new constitution. We had two constitutions on the table. And then at line 14 it says, I no longer remember, so we had to choose between two constitutions. Witness, my question is, you said in your testimony there were two constitutions on the table, and then you went on to say Kenyans had to choose between two constitutions. And I just wanted you to clarify to the court, it is your testimony that in 2005, when Kenyans went for referendum, they were making a choice between two constitutions.
Hilo swali jinsi unavyoniuliza aliniingia kwa akili, kwa sababu ukisema Wakenya walitakikana kuchagua katiba moja kwa kati ya zile mbili, mimi sielewi unamaanisha nini?
Witness, you already confirmed, recalling that you said there were two constitutions on the table. You also said you remember that Kenyans had to choose between two constitutions. And all I'm asking you is that it is your testimony that when people were going to cast their votes in 2005 by way of referendum, they were choosing between two drafts of constitution, isn't it?
Witness, okay, let's approach it this way. The lawyer is saying, said when you testified earlier about the referendum, that you had said at some point that there were two constitutions and Kenyans had to choose between two constitutions. The question now for you is, are you saying that what the referendum was about was for Kenyans to choose between two constitutions, or are you saying something else about what the referendum was about?
Ilikuwa nafikiria Yohana, umeniambia, umenielezea, nimeelewa. Ilikuwa ni Wakenya wachague katiba moja zaidi ya hizo mbili, dhidi ya hizo mbili. So ni yes, walikuwa wachague katiba moja kati ya hizo mbili.
Now, I want you to, this is not about the answer you've given now, but it's, when I ask a question, if you don't understand it, also tell me you don't understand my question. I don't want you to assume that because I have asked you the question, then you must answer it, even if you don't understand. Please feel free, even when I try to rephrase a lawyer's question, if it's still not clear, it is your right to indicate that it is still not clear, so we can try harder. We want you to understand every question that you are answering. Do you understand me? Did you understand that last question I asked you?
Yes. Umeelewa.
All right, what you can now tell us again is what your understanding of the referendum was about. Can you tell us what you understood the referendum to be about, keeping in mind that you had somewhere said earlier that there were two constitutions and Kenyans had to choose. Tell us what you understood was going on in the referendum. What was it about? What were Kenyans supposed to do in the questions asked or question asked in the referendum?
Kulikuwa na katiba pendekezo ambazo zilitolewa zikiwa mbili na zikawekwa wazi, kila moja achague ile katiba anaona inamridhisha.
Do I proceed, Mr. President?
Thank you, witness. Yes, Mr. King.
Witness, did you also say that the draft constitution of 2005 was called Kibaki draft? For the record, I am looking at transcript number 98, line 13 to 17, page 47.
La, sikusema hivyo. Nafikiria hilo neno Kibaki liko kwa mahali pengine tofauti na hiyo.
Witness, I will read to you what you said. The question you had been asked was this. Witness, you've said that Mr. Sang said that the Constitution was meant to grab the Kalenjin land away from the Kalenjin people. Did he say who would take the land away? And the answer is this. Yes, he said that. According to several people, including myself, that Constitution was known as the Kibaki Constitution. And so when it happened, they say that the Kikuyu people were very numerous, and so if the Constitution was voted in, no one would be allowed to have more than 30 acres. So they had to do everything to ensure that the Constitution was not accepted. Otherwise, their land would be taken away. Witness, do you recall having said that?
Ndio nilisema, na sijui kama naweza kufafanua kidogo niseme kuhusu hiyo katiba.
Witness, my question is very limited to whether or not, according to you, that draft was called Kibaki draft. That's all.
Kulikuwa na chungwa na kulikuwa na ndizi, na Wakalenjin walichukua ndizi, ni katiba ya Kibaki, na ndipo nimesema kulikuwa na katiba mbili. Nafikiria ni chungwa na ndizi, lakini kwa upande mwingine wachungwa walichukulia katiba ya ndizi ni ya Kibaki. Na ndipo nilisema Wakalenjin walisema, hata si Wakalenjin, Mr. Sang alisema Wanandi wa Kikuyu watachukua, Kibaki anataka mashamba apatie wa Kikuyu. Kwa hivyo wasipigie kura. Nafikiria iko kwa statement yangu.
Mr. President, could I request that the transcript, page 21, line 19, be corrected to read should be 30 acres, not 13 acres as marked?
Yes, that's what I heard you say. Yes, 30.
And witness, at page 57, you had been asked a question. Witness, you mentioned that in 2005, Kenyans were about to vote a new constitution. Did Sang talk about this topic on the radio? And the answer was this. Yes, in 2005.
The King and Katwa pays.
I'll be slow, Mr. President. Your answer was this, witness, that there was, yes, in 2005 they had to forge a new constitution, we had two constitutions on the table. There was Boma, and Boma is just written Boma and left hanging. Witness, was it your intention to say the other one was Boma draft?
Kulingana na vile mimi najua, kulikuwa na katiba ambaye nikikumbuka ilikuwa na majadiliano kwa Bomas, na hiyo ingine mimi sijui, lakini kulikuwa na hizo katiba.
Mr. President, at page 57, at page 22, line 18, it is marked that I said page 37. I actually said page 57, line 11 to 13. That is the transcript in idea of 4th March 2014. Now, witness, two last issues I want to cover with you on that issue. The first one is that it is your testimony that that draft had suggested that people should have not more than 30 acres. Is that what you said?
Hiyo ilikuwa ni maoni ya Wakalenjin. Nafikiria nilikwambia hivyo, nimesema kwa statement yangu hivyo.
Okay, witness, I'll just read it to you, and it's okay if you are saying that's not what you said. This is what you said. And so, when this happened, sorry, may I say that this is transcript 98 of 4th March 2014, line 13 to 17. You said, and so when this happened, they said that the Kikuyu people were very numerous. So if the constitution was 413, no one would be allowed to have more than 30 acres. So they had to do everything to ensure that the constitution was not accepted. Otherwise, their land would be taken away from them.
Is that different from what she just said in the last response to you, Mr. King Katwa?
I will admit it's not necessarily inconsistent. I just wanted to put the question again just to be sure that she means what she's saying now, as opposed to the proposition, and then I'll leave that issue, Mr. President.
Well, if we do that every time that there's clarity, we may stay here forever. Flo has asked questions that way. You can do it once, then, but let's watch it, please.
I will, Mr. President. Witness, is it your testimony that the limit of 30 acres maximum was in the draft?
No, that's not fair. She said that her understanding was, what she said was that was the point of view communicated across by Kalenjins.
I will ask a different question altogether from that, Mr. President. Witness, do you recall what that draft of the Constitution, or those drafts of the Constitution, said about land ownership in terms of maximum acreage and minimum acreage?
nafikiria katiba kulingana na jinsi ilivyokuwa imedraftiwa, kuna vipengele ambavyo vilikuwa vinaongea kuhusu ardhi, na pia kulikuwa na mambo mengi kwa hiyo katiba. Although mimi sikusoma hivyo vipengele, nilisikia kutoka kwa siasa za Bwana Sang kuwa katiba hiyo pendekezo inakuja kulenga Kalenjin, kwa sababu inasema eka 30 hakuna mtu anafaa kuwa nazo. Na nafikiria nilijibu hilo swali wakati wa kwanza hivyo. Ilikuwa ni pendekezo la Wakalenjin.
That's enough. And witness, my question would be very narrow to this effect. Had you seen the draft of the Constitution, the drafts of the sections on land in the drafts of the constitutions that were being discussed?
Sijui nitakujibu nini.
Mr. Kigenkato, you have to ask another question. I believe she already answered that question. Did she not?
She hasn't, Mr. President.
Can you now look at lines 4, 9, 5 to 6 on the current page? Isn't this what you are getting at?
No, what I'm getting at, Mr. President, is whether she herself had seen what the draft said as opposed to what Mr. Sang was interpreting it to say.
She said, although I did not read the paragraph myself.
I'll leave that issue there, Mr. President. Now, witness, in transcript number 98 at page 59, this is what you said. Mr. Sang talked about the Constitution. I think that Kass FM station was in ODM camp, in fact, in the Orange camp. Do you remember that, witness?
Ndio.
And so it is your testimony, witness, that in the year 2005, when discussions were being conducted about the draft constitution, ODM had taken a position.
ODM ilikuwa na msimamo wa chungwa.
And when you talk of ODM, you are talking of Orange Democratic Movement as a political party, isn't it?
Sikuelewi.
You already said that ODM was on the side of Orange in the 2005 referendum campaigns. And I just wanted you to clarify that the ODM you're referring to is Orange Democratic Movement as a party.
Ndio.
Now, witness, it is your testimony that Sang campaigned against the said draft. Do you know whether the draft was successful, received most votes in Rift Valley for years or not? Do you know?
Mimi kulingana na hesabu yangu ama kujua kwangu, mimi sijui kama watu wa Rift Valley ndio waliangusha hiyo katiba ama walipitisha hiyo katiba, kwa sababu acha niachie hapo. Sijui ni wagani waliipitiza ni Rift Valley, kwa sababu chungwa ilikuwa imeenda mpaka ilikuwa Kisumu Western, kulikuwa na chungwa. Ukiongea kuhusu Rift Valley sijui unamaanisha nini.
Witness, I want to show you a document showing the statistics of the 2005 referendum and see if you can make any comments about it.
Why?
Mr. President, because the testimony in respect to Mr. Sang was that he campaigned against that draft that draft constitution, and by extension mobilized people presumably against the constitution. And I just wanted to show the statistics of how that constitution fared on, not only in the area where the program was broadcasted to, but in the rest of Kenya.
How does that assist in the cross-examination of this witness? The witness has given her testimony and also said what she said in the last answer. How does it assist us to stay here and show her statistics of how the votes were cast? Isn't that argumentative?
Mr. President and Your Honors, my understanding of the intention of the prosecution in adducing that evidence is to suggest that Mr. Sang had influence over the people to whom he was broadcasting, and that in part the reason why that constitution and the land elements in it were unsuccessful is because of Mr. Sang's influence. And all I am seeking to do in going through those statistics is to demonstrate that that draft constitution was not an issue, was not rejected only by people in Rift Valley, many other people, Mr. President. In fact, only one province put in votes about 50% in support of that draft.
But is that inconsistent with the witness's last answer? Because you're here, you have a witness, and you're cross-examining the witness. And this is not an expert witness who you might want to use to prove certain other proposition in terms of opinion. The witness has said she does not know how well or not the Rift Valley population assisted in the outcome. She also says she knows that other people in other regions, specifically Kisumu, who voted for ODM in the referendum.
Mr. President, I will leave that issue, but I maintain that the intention of adducing that evidence was to show the influence of Mr. Sang. And all I'm trying to do in showing the statistics is that the only distinction that Sang has from well over 80% of the other Kenyans was that he was heard on radio, but many other people held the same view as Mr. Sang, only that they didn't have a station from which they could broadcast, at least to the extent available to this court.
So what would you expect this witness to tell you? That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that you may not have reason or there may not be forensic value to you putting in the statistics when it's like when the issue is really engaged. But what do you expect this witness to do with it?
To concede that up to 80% of Kenyans did not want that draft constitution, Mr. President, which is an information which you do not have to the extent to which the prosecution has adduced their evidence. The extent of the prosecution's evidence is that that constitution was rejected. Part of the efforts to reject that constitution were the instance of Mr. Sang. You do not have the information on the rest of the Kenyans what their position was, Mr. President. That's all I was trying to get to.
Your Honours, I don't think, as you've already mentioned, that the witness is really in a position to comment on that. She's given her own opinion. She can't comment on the reliability of the statistics. And if my learned friend wishes to introduce that evidence, perhaps it's better to introduce it in another way.
President, I do not want the issue belabored. I can leave it. You do not need to rule on that issue. I can leave that issue.
So you're withdrawing it?
I'm leaving it where it is, Mr. President.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
However, I would request to be allowed to ask one question as a general proposition. Witness, are you aware that up to 80% of Kenyans actually rejected that draft constitution?
Sijui.
Now, witness, I want us to go to the 2007 elections. – 2007 elections. Do you recall when it was that people went to vote?
Sielewi swali lako. Umesema ni wakati, sijui, sikumbuki mimi, sijui, sielewi. Rudia.
In 2007, people went to cast their votes for presidential, parliamentary, and civic offices. And I'm asking you, which date was set for casting votes, witness?
Ni tarehe 27.
I take it is 27th December. And when were the results of the elections announced, witness?
Kura ipi?
I'm talking about the results of the presidential elections, witness, in the year 2007.
Nafikiria, sikumbuki vizuri, nafikiria ni tarehe 30. Tarehe 30. Tarehe 31. Tarehe 30, tarehe 31.
And witness, it is your testimony that you watched the events at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, KICC, through Citizen TV, and you also heard on Kass FM. Was that your testimony?
Ndiyo, nilifuata, ambapo sikumbuki ni tarehe 31 ama tarehe 30. Kile tarehe 31. Yes, tarehe 31. Kumbuki vizuri.
Now, witness, I want to take you to this, to specifically what you said about Mr. Sang, and that is to be found in transcript 99 of 5th March 2014. And could you confirm that the 6 allegations you've made about Mr. Sang, the first one is at page 3, line 19 to 21, where you said that Mr. Sang was talking about the developments in the announcements of the results. He went on to say that the votes were stolen. If the transcript could be corrected, I said page 19, line transcript 99, page 3, line 19 to 21. Witness, do you recall having said that Sang announced that votes had been stolen?
Ndiyo, nilisema.
And witness, I'm very particular. Do you recall that the basis of your saying it was a question put to you by the prosecution? So, on the morning of 31st December, what did Mr. Sang say, if anything, about the results of the presidential elections? Do you recall that the question was put to you in respect to the period of 31st December 2007?
Bwana Sang alitangaza kusema sorry. Rudia hilo swali.
Witness, there are 6 things that you said Sang did on 31st December. The first one is you said that Mr. Sang announced that votes had been stolen. Do you recall that?
Ndiyo.
The second one, witness, was that people should come out and fight for their rights. Do you recall saying that?
Ndiyo.
Mr. King and Kurt were all on the 31st.
I want to list them, then go back to the date so that they all fall in one day, instead of asking one against the date.
What I mean is, all these allegations Are you saying she testified that she heard them on the 31st of December?
Yes, Mr. President, and I propose to give the page numbers of the transcript for the record.
I'm not disputing you. I'm concerned now about the witness's ability to follow your question. So if the date is of the essence, then let's keep that uppermost on her mind. That you were saying that she had testified that on the 31st of December 2007, being the date, that she heard XYZ, so that she knows that you're interested in the date as well.
Yes, the date is of essence, so I'll put the question again. Witness, the issue of you telling people that Sang said people should come out and fight for their rights is at page 3, line 25, and page 4, line 1, being that you said these things, or that Sang said these things on 31st December 2007. Do you recall saying that, witness?
All right, witness, what's happening is this. Mr. Keegan Katwa is saying that during your testimony, you had testified and said that you heard Sang say certain things on the 31st of December 2007. Now, Mr. Keegan Katwa is going to tell you what it was you had said earlier that you heard Mr. Sang say on the 31st of December 2007. He will go after those allegations one after another, but you keep in mind that he is saying that you testified that you heard these things said by Mr. Sang on the 31st of December 2007.
Thank you, Mr. President. The third thing is that you said that there were some youths, some were saying Sang is saying the truth, others were saying Sang is not saying the truth. You recall that, witness? I am not saying the location where you said you met the youth.
Ila swali sielewi unasema nini? Youth wengine, sikuelewi.
Mr. President, I will leave that and come back to it in private session. Now, witness, you also said that Mr. Sang said you said that someone called into Mr. Sang's program, and both Mr. Sang and the caller agreed to urge people that they should not accept the results. Do you remember saying that?
Ndio.
I'm looking at page 11, line 15, and page 12, line 1 of the transcript 99. The next thing that you said is that people in Kakamega and Kisumu had already come out to fight for their rights. Do you remember saying that, witness?
Ndio.
As what Mr. Sang had said?
Yes, that's what Mr. Sang had said.
Witness is saying you had also testified that on the 31st of December 2007, you had Mr. Sang say that.
Ndio.
Lastly, witness, and correct me if I'm wrong, You also said that Sang called on people in Kapsabet to attend Elijah Lagat's rally. Well, you didn't say whether it was a meeting or a rally or a demonstration, but that Sang announced that people should go for what Elijah Lagat had called for in Kapsabet. Do you recall that, witness?
Sorry, could I just get a reference for that last?
Ndio.
The reference is page 45 to 46, transcript 99. And witness, it is your testimony that Sang called for people of Kapsabet to go for that meeting on the 31st of December 2007, isn't it?
Ndio.
Mr. King and Katwa, look at the clock. Tell us when it's convenient to break off and return.
Mr. President, could I have transcript at page 13 corrected? I recall the witness said yes to the question I put to her as to whether or not Sang called for people to attend Elijah Lagat's meeting on 31st, line 13.
I heard in Dio.
Yes, and that is yes. On our way out, Mr. President, could I request for a private session just to put the last proposition so that when I come back, I come to the substance of my testimony?
A private session.